I can't keep it together when I do an intro like that. It's far too professional for the weirdos.
The countdown is awesome.
Yeah.
Well, hello everyone. How's everyone doing today?
Good.
Yeah. Very good.
Good day in crypto.
Yeah. It's nice to be joining everyone.
Yeah.
It's nice to be doing this now that we've got some green shoots of recovery. I mean, I'll go to our start with our market expert Mark in the corner there. Is this a dead cat bounce or is this the real deal? Tell us everything. This is the alpha everyone came for before we get in the roadmap chat.
Well, I had a hedge open against Ethereum and I closed it and converted it to a long. So I think we might be on the up. We were just talking about this before, right? Where we said it's quite remarkable that given one of the largest stable coins has collapsed, that we're still all here, right? Like, it's like, oh, well, we carry on. Let's move on. But you think one bank collapsed in 2008, right? And the whole world went to shit. Here we're just like,
I saw a figure that the current value of crypto is more than the value of the mortgage market that caused the 2008 crash. So there's some interesting correlations. Obviously, everyone's just looking for figures that add together to make it seem like impending death. But the worrying thing is more that sort of the markets seem very tied to crypto, and that sort of is you sort of feel like that shouldn't be a thing, right? That should be like more decentralized than that.
That sounds bearish. I think we should move on.
Yeah, let's move on.
Let's move on from bear talk.
All right then. Well, OGM, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. This is the Weirdos. We are doing a State of the Weirdoverse address. We are talking roadmap today. We've got the core team with us. We've got Crypto Jack, we've got Ghost Breath, Mark, and Mr. Xeon, and myself, Cheadle Heat. I'm going to try and keep this really succinct. I'm really bad at that, so do hold me to account. We want to try and keep this to an hour tops. I want to talk as a team for maybe half of that, maybe more than half of that. And then we will have some time for questions from the community as they come through towards the end. The aim of this is that we're informing, we're updating, we're giving you more clarity, more detail, and more reasons to be excited for being part of the Weirdos and the Weirdoverse. But we do want people to have their say. This is kind of one of the reasons why we're here. But we will follow up next week in our Discord with a full AMA so that people have had the chance to digest what we're talking about today. You can come back and really think on it over the weekend, and then come back with some, slight hard-hitting questions as we start building this stuff out. So I'm just going to rattle through a slide deck. It's kind of Web 2 to do that, but I think it's really helpful for us to really just lay this out step by step. We've done it in different ways already. We started with an infographic. We came to you with a first roadmap a couple of weeks back, followed by a newsletter last Friday with a bit more detail around that roadmap. So this is just another layer of detail, new stuff in here, new surprises, new reasons to be excited, but we want to just go piece by piece and be a bit more deliberate with giving you the information and as to how it relates to you as a token holder, what benefits you can expect from each of these roadmap elements, what that means in terms of utility for things like rat milk as well, and how it unlocks stuff. And we're just getting into some of that stuff that we've either hinted at or skirted by in the past. We're getting into it now. So this is kind of, if you've been asking for more, or how the value proposition works for you as a token holder, this is it. This is why we're back. This is what we're doing today. So we're explaining that to you, and then we're just going to see how that sits with you in the immediate aftermath, and then we'll head into next week and do some more questions then. So a quick recap for those of you who have either joined us from the very beginning back in September last year, or if you've just recently bought token, or you're just checking us out for the very first time, or somewhere in between, trying to pitch this so that it kind of suits everyone. But I thought it'd be really helpful to just go back a step and talk about what we've done as a project, not patting ourselves on the back hard here, but just to give you some context as to how long we've been in play and what we've been doing. So from the very beginning, we released 3 different Genesis collections across several months, ending in February this year, series 1, 2, and 3, a 1 of 1 series. We also then went into a Battle Royale generative series, which most of you who will be watching this either live or on record will be token holders of, which sold out. We delivered a bespoke and smooth minting experience with very low gas, which we were very proud of. And I think it's something we are continuing to be proud of as we start moving forwards and thinking about how we build in the future. We also were the first known project to offer ape payments, which at the time seemed like a bleeding edge thing to be thinking about, and then the price volatility after that made it somewhat interesting decision to make to give up your hard-earned ape to mint with. But here we are. We used ape. We developed custom bots thanks to Mr. Xeon. We have MilkBot 3000, SalesBot 3000 in Discord. So we've just been adding little layers of tech as we go along as well. Milk games like Milk That Rat, which is a website game where you hit a button a certain number of times to earn more rat milk, which again, we'll talk about in terms of utility going forwards. And then here we are with our roadmap conversation. So when we sold out, we took a step back. I had a couple of drinks on the day of sellout, and then we got back to work. And the first thing that we all did collectively was form a company and start turning this into something tangible and real. And Weird Industries was born out of the back of that. So we are a registered UK entity. We are a proper company. We are called Weird Industries, and the core team of Weird Industries is exactly as you see it here on the left-hand side of your stream. So I thought it'd be really helpful to give some clarity, because we've talked about our roles in the Discord in lots of different ways. And now that we're transitioning from minting an NFT project into becoming a proper startup, capitalized startup, a proper new business, what are the roles and functions of each of those people that you see on the stream? So let's start with the most important man of all, Ghost Breath. I think that's fair to say, isn't it? Ghost Breath's our core founder, and he's now going to run with the title of CEO and Creative Director of Weird Industries. So in other words, Ghost Breath's the key person that drives the vision and the artistic direction of the project. So he's the inspiration behind the story and the lore so far. He's an artist, an animator, a motion designer. So he'll continue to have a very, very important role in the project moving forwards, because this project doesn't really exist without Ghost Breath's art. We can support that, and we are doing so. And we're very excited to build the future with him. But that's Ghost Breath. On to me, Cheadle Heat, or aka Nick. I'm fully doxed. You can see my LinkedIn bio in the Discord. We've got a team channel where you can check out my real life history as well. But I'll be taking a slightly different role to the one that I've been put forward as in the past. So I'll be the Chief Operating Officer, or COO, of Weird Industries. So going forward, I'll be responsible for things like the day-to-day operations of the company for the Weirdos NFT project. So I'll be having overall roadmap delivery responsibilities, but also just leading on the best structures for each of the company's functions. So things like finance, which is my old background, legal, marketing, tech, product, design, people, the community, of course. I came from the background of community manager in this project, and also just day-to-day decision-making on some of the roadmap stuff that we'll be starting to get into in a few minutes' time. So it's kind of my role. As a result, we'll talk on this in the last bullet there. My full-time focus starting this project was as community manager, being very present in the Discord, running competitions and games, and generally providing a lot of the community-facing role of the team to the Discord. And as my role has started to expand, that's become increasingly difficult for me to do. So we are going to be looking for some support in that regard, and we're going to market to find a full-time community manager fairly soon. And then we've also got CryptoJack, who is our product lead and has responsibility for supporting the roadmap with me and project delivery. We've got bios on each of us, by the way. I'm not going to go into too much detail. You either probably hit it before, or you can find it in the Discord. So please do, and check us all out. And then we've got Mr. Xeon and Mark, who are our tech tag team, and they're responsible for dev support and tech consultancy. So that kind of wraps up what we've got at the moment. Those of you who've been in the Discord streets for quite some time will know that we had another founder, Kerno Cream, who he left the project in the lead up to the mint about 4 weeks before the Battle Royale generative as well. So if you haven't seen him around in the Discord, that explains why. He took on quite a lot of the pre-mint marketing responsibilities. And so as we move into the next phase of the project, we are also looking for a marketing manager as well, which will be part of our hiring responsibilities as we step into this roadmap and start building out. So that kind of wraps up a bit more about us and what we're doing as a team going forwards. And then transition back to this slide. Quickly, what have we done since we launched? We did the first roadmap, which was more of a teaser, to be honest. Like our initial approach, as those of you who spoke to us in the pre-mint phase would know, that we were quite big on wanting to surprise and delight. That was like our mantra. We really like the idea of promising very little, but then dropping in really big developments as we start to build out the Weirdoverse. And aside from anything else, I think the current meta of doing that has been slightly rocked by the likes of Azuki and all the stuff that's happening over there. So we heard that feedback loud and clear that didn't work, and we decided that we'd have to pivot on that philosophy almost, and give you the clarity that you're seeking from each of these teasing threads from the first roadmap graphic and Medium article that Crypto Jack authored. So what we did then was follow up with a newsletter last Friday, which gave a little bit more under each of the headings, just to say, hey, here's the update on merch, here's what's going on with access to that, and why it would be important to stack those tokens, or how we're going to prioritize the Genesis collection, which of course will always have that increased importance in the Weirdoverse. We talked about metadata, we talked about tidying up the server and bits and pieces like that. And then we paused, and then we waited to hear the feedback. The initial feedback, both from the first Medium article and the first newsletter update, were quite mixed. I say there was a lot of positivity from core followers who were delighted that we'd finally put our cards on the table around how we're building out the IP of the Weirdos. I think a lot of people expected us to go down the route of an animated series, and we did, and we're committed to doing that, and you'll see that as we move through the slides. But I think some other people gave us a balance to that, or at least an opportunity to check back in and say, hey, are we getting this right by you? Is this what you want to see as well? Because I think there's nothing worse than us saying, like, we're going to indulge our vision, and we're going to spend a ton of project money from the mint, and you actually don't really want to consume that and experience that. So instead of just giving it to you top down, as we say, this is Web3. So we want to build this together with you. We do have a clear vision of what we want to achieve, but if you're going to tell us, I'm not going to use it, it's of no interest to me, I don't see how that corresponds to the value of owning a token, well, we need to have that conversation. And so this, the whole reason for doing this today is to act as that final check-in stage with you, the community, and say, hey, look, here are our ideas. We're going away and developing all of them right now. So you need to tell us very soon if you disagree or you think that we should be doing different things. So we've had tons of suggestions in the last few weeks. And I get that, the floor price has obviously been moving around and dropping. And in those situations, people look for any solution to make number go up. And look, we're not here to talk about floor price, but we are here to say we're open to conversations around how we build this. And that's kind of what this this future is now looking like. It's much more of a collaborative exercise, and I hope you see that starting to come through in some of the slides that we've got coming ahead. And so on to the big reveal, the roadmap. So most of this you've seen already, and you will be familiar with quite a lot of it. The thing that obviously stands out here is point number 3, Super Weirdos, which is the grand reveal of something that we haven't talked about yet, but has been in the plans for quite some time. But we were hoping to surprise on some of this stuff and just drop it in. But I think it's probably prudent at this stage that we have a full coming clean moment, a full amnesty on our plans, and we'll touch on that in a few slides' time. But the rest of it should be either very well signposted or no news to people who've been tracking the project. So without further ado, I'm just going to crack into this. I was just going to have a sip of my coffee, actually, if that's okay. I've been coming down with a sort of non-COVID okay. Chesty kind of thing.
You have to keep going with that drive.
Not allowed.
How dare I? Right, rat milk. This has come up for months, and well, in fact, in the pre-stage, pre-mint process. Why are we collecting all this rat milk? Initially, it was just to distribute our allow list, our cream list, as we called it, and in a sort of fair way, which rewarded positive engagement and being early and that sort of stuff. Now we've got a whole different utility for the use of rat milk as we go forwards. We are also conscious of the fact that people have busy lives and cannot just sit in the Weirdos Discord all day and achieve, through games or comments or activities. And much as we love that, I'm full-time on the Weirdos and would happily sit with you all day and talk about the project. You can't. You've got full-time jobs. You are in various other communities. You might have a home community. It isn't the Weirdos, but we don't want to disbar you from being part of the utility moving forwards. As a result, we went away and took on board a number of suggestions around how we deliver this. So some people were quite keen for us to go down the staking route, and basically when people say staking, I get lots of the intentions behind it. It's basically supply shock, it's take tokens off the market, it's number go up, it's all the things that sort of come with that. And also it's an ERC20 token. It's a give me coins as a reward for not selling your token. And it can work, but as a lot of people will have seen in recent days, the economy of ERC20s is hyper fragile and needs a huge amount of support. So we are not committing to an ERC20 at this stage. We are going down the road of a passive earning of rat milk from unlisted tokens only. So if you do not list your Weirdos token, you will be able to claim weekly rat milk from process, which we'll define quite soon as we launch this. But the idea of this is that we're saying, look, if you believe in the project and you want to be part of the roadmap, don't list your token, you'll be able to unlock the most rat milk. You will be able to list your token and earn in other ways, but it will be harder. And we're not saying that you won't be able to earn any milk whatsoever. We're not stopping people from selling. All we're doing is rewarding people who don't want to sell with the most rat milk. And on top of that, to layer on top of that, if you have collections of Weirdos, so if you have multiple Weirdos, or if you have, say, some collectors like having one of each faction, or they like having the whole set or Genesis, we want to reward those with multipliers, so you earn even more milk than just the sum of the parts. So the idea is that those multipliers would stack as well, so you'd be able to start really racking up rewards for unlisted collections of Weirdos as well. So the whole point of this is everyone's invited to take part, everyone's valuable to it, but you will be able to take more in rewards for holding certain collections, like whether it's all Weirdos tokens or stake tokens or combination of all 14 factions, or just smaller subsets of all of that. There will be benefits for doing all those things. And the process, like I say, will be a weekly claim. It's not a gas-based process because it isn't an ERC20, but there will be some steps that we'll need to walk you through as we start designing that and launching it. So stay tuned for more updates on that. As we say, this is going to start unlocking everything on the future slides, so bear with us. We've got some FAQs here at the bottom. And what I will say at this point as well is we're not just going to read off all the slide bullet by bullet here, because we're going to give you the slide deck in the Discord after this presentation as well. We'll save the recording and you can go through this at your leisure as well. So for the interest of transparency, I'm just trying to explain the concepts here rather than going line by line. But we do want to pull out some key points. So we've not decided on the total multipliers and how they stack, because it's a bloody complex system basically for working out how that's going to work for a variety of collectors at different points. And of course, we don't want to completely exclude people from future utility by setting impossible targets to achieve so we just got to be really, really delicate how we launch those multipliers, and also just make sure that they don't undermine one another as well, because we want people to collect in their own way, but the rewards for people who are doing a little bit more should be meaningful too. So we are conscious of that, and we want to make sure that if you own one Weirdo, one Battle Royale Weirdo, it's still going to feel worthwhile to claim those weekly rewards versus someone who's got, say, 14 and 2 or 3 OGs, because they're obviously going to be streets ahead, but at the same time, you will still need your access to enjoy everything in the Weirdoverse with your one Battle Royale token. Okay, so that's kind of the mechanism, which takes a little bit of time to model through, which is one of my jobs now. So that's going to be on me. Anyone want to say anything on rat milk before I move on to the fun stuff? Just let me drink my coffee, basically.
Just had a bit of a request for see if you can put it into full screen to cover, I think, even our faces, if possible. It's just some people are saying it's a bit small, but
it's a bit small, hey? Yeah, probably. Hang on.
Are you just talking about the presentation, or
the peen?
I think it's just because it's not in presenter mode, Nick. I'm not sure if you can just like present it or whether that's a sharing issue.
Yeah, it was a sharing issue for me. Let me just try again, because it might end up working? How does that look for you guys? Because I can't see now.
Is
that
it
PowerPoint?
looks exactly the same.
Is that PowerPoint?
It is PowerPoint. It's PowerPoint for a very specific reason in 2 slides time. So stick with it, and we'll press F5. Says the community.
Two specific reasons.
I think I don't know.
I press F5, but it doesn't work for you guys. No problem. Look, we'll work with this.
This looks bigger, I think. So
what a bunch of boomers.
Yeah, we are a bunch of boomers. But again, as a reminder, you will also get this slide deck. So don't worry if you can't read it now. We are talking to it, and you'll be able to have a full copy of it afterwards. So there we go. On to merch. This is a quick update because we talked about this at length in the newsletter last week. But just as a recap, we are shortlisting suppliers right now. As you probably know, we've got Ghost Breath in South Africa and the rest of the project team in the UK. So some of us are looking at stuff in our local areas to deliver this stuff. We also talked about how we reward certain sets of token holders. I think there was a little bit of drama in the community around the use of words like most loyal or, better collectors, and sentiments to that effect anyway. And look, we completely understand this is nuanced. All we were really saying is we're going to set a bar for special edition items, which only certain people of a certain holding will be able to achieve. They will be able to pay for that special edition item or items with rat milk and no cash. So that's kind of the benefit of going down the road of, say you're on 3 or 4 Battle Royale Weirdos, you have to have 6 to be able to unlock the special edition item. Genesis holders are already eligible. So it's just a threshold for achieving a special edition item. The rest of the merch range will be available to all. We won't have a full run of thousands of every single line item. So it will be first come, first served, and you will be able to achieve that with rat milk plus a fiat payment. And we'll take a token snapshot at the juncture that we're ready to launch the collection, but we'll define that nearer the time. So that's already out there. That's already known. Again, we can't really say exactly when until we know what those exact suppliers' timelines look like, because we want to get this right. We want to focus on quality. We've had a couple of conversations around typical merch pricing in this space. There's obvious expensive merch ranges from collabs with streetwear brands, and something like the Three Landers hoodie springs to mind, where they were charging $250 for something which was partnered with a pretty reputable fashion wear brand in I think it's streetwear, and they were charging $250, which was comparable with the rest of their hoodie range. But I don't really want to go down the road initially of hyping this up with a skatewear brand or something to that effect, just for the interests of getting something into your hands that's reasonably affordable and of high quality. So just no Web3 pricing is the mantra that I'm running with on this, so that we get something sensible out to you soon. And then in terms of teasers, Ghost Breath.
Ooh.
I'm just sad there's not a peen hat.
Yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. The hats need exploration, definitely. I think there's from my perspective a lot of things that can be done. Yeah. I mean, I think stuff like peen-based, what would you say, like items, I think would probably have to be community led, like a lot of the peen stuff has been so far. So, creating a shirt with a big peen on it might be like a risk, but I think it's a risk we're always willing to take. It's just, we want to make sure that there's demand for that. So I think, like, from my perspective, I can make, I mean, I love, like, I've been waiting to make merch since I did series 1, essentially. So it's a super exciting thing for me, and I can kind of just keep on going and putting out ideas. So, I have to kind of rein myself in at some points and be like, okay, I've got to get some feedback, I think, from basically, everyone, the community, and yeah, I kind of refine things down from there. So yeah, we'll see what becomes peen based and what doesn't.
We're peen risk takers at the Weirdos anyway. That's kind of important to know. Like we've not come this far with peens and badges to suddenly drop them again. They're here to stay.
That's the truth.
But it is just to echo Ghost Breath there. This is not the entire collection. These are just concepts, and that we will tinker with them. We'll finalize them with those suppliers, and it's not the extent of the range. We're not just doing a hoodie, a t-shirt, and a hat. We are looking at other things as well. So, look, don't want to drop everything at once. We do want to still deliver some surprises within this world that we're trying to build. So, yeah, this is just indicative of the things that we're starting to push. So, where's the swimwear? Yeah, exactly. Where's the swimwear?
I was honestly suggesting to the team the possibility of underwear. I think we've talked about that somewhat pretty seriously, but I think
let's just be clear, you weren't really just suggesting underwear, were you? you were going a bit further than that.
The underwear with the holes cut out.
Yeah, crotchless underwear. It's not quite just underwear.
We had to wear them to work. It just got too.
There's all the rules that you were putting in place.
Weird industry dress code is punitive if you're not working from home and you're commuting. So challenging. Definitely. But the state endorsed boxer shorts with the state logo on the elastic band, that is, I'm just saying, if I have any creative direction in this Ghost Breath, you'll take that on board. Right then, let's keep moving because I want to crack through this. So that's merch. We will give you more updates as we get closer to identifying those supplier lead times, and we'll hopefully be able to drop that. I keep saying soon to everything, but there we go. Super Weirdos, though. This is far more important, right? Let's get rid of our faces.
Oh,
Super Weirdos. This is new. This has not been discussed yet with the community. What are we doing here with Super Weirdos? We are talking about developing the story around Battle Royale through Super Weirdos. So holders of Super Weirdos will be able to burn 8 clone Weirdos to generate a new Super Weirdo. So we're going to have a burn mechanism for 8 Battle Royale Weirdos, and effectively it'll be like an upgrade. So I'll let Ghost Breath talk to some extent around the role of Super Weirdos in the lore, but basically they're being described as army generals in the conflict between Weirdos and the state. So they'll almost be like the promoted in the ranks of war, and they'll carry the same status as OGs. So they'll be almost like effectively a Series 4 Genesis with the same benefits and access rights as Series 1 to 3 Weirdos. So really important to just dwell on that for a minute, because we are expanding our Genesis family by introducing this concept. And the reason why that matters, of course, is because we know that the Genesis group have by far the most access to the Weirdoverse in lots of different ways. The far more increased chances of being featured in things like the graphic novel or animated shorts, animated series. Of course, it's going to be some crazy new art from Ghost Breath. So, even if you are already a Genesis holder, there's going to be a good chance you're going to want to acquire some of this collection. And then we also wanted to take a step back and think about providing utility to the floor collection. So we've noticed that there's certain traits or certain factions or certain tokens generally that just carry less desire in the marketplace. And so this was seen as a way of providing some utility and life to that floor collection of the Battle Royale series as well. So you might not want to feel like giving up your set of Archons, Mr. Xeon, for example, but you won't have to, because it won't require you to burn specific factions or specific rarities or traits or anything like that. It will just be a case of putting together 8 that you're willing to burn in exchange for a new Super Weirdo. And we'll give you loads more detail around the exact mechanics of how that burning works as we are building it out. And the tech team here will be providing us estimates and updates when we're confident to actually say it's going to be ready by date X. So as you see, we're going through all of this, and we're not giving you exact dates. We're not saying in June you're getting this, in July you're getting that. We're being very clear that these things take time to develop, but also can hit unexpected bumps along the way, and we want to be really honest with you as those start emerging as well. So rather than just saying it's definitely happening on the 28th of June, we're coming back to you with more information each week. And as we get closer to being exact with those timelines, we will drop them in. So that's why you're not getting anything on that front right now. And then just references around what you're going to, what would happen if you burnt all those battle royale weirdos in terms of milk, because you might have been passively claiming your 8 lots of rat milk from your 8 clones. Well, you'll be able to keep everything that you've claimed so far, and then your super weirdo will earn similar or equivalent to rewards because of the ratio and the status of Genesis and super weirdos in the structure of the multipliers around rat milk earning as well. So you won't be unduly penalized for trading in your clones to generate a super weirdo in terms of rat milk earning. And we won't give you sorts of numbers around exactly how much milk you're going to need to burn each of these tokens, or any of the other items for that matter, whether it's merch claims or the stuff that we're about to come up to as well. But as we get nearer to those points, we'll start thinking about what's a sensible cutoff for each of those elements of the roadmap, because we don't want to exclude people who've earned the right to be part of the roadmap effectively. Moving on to the graphic novel. Again, we've talked about this a fair amount, so I don't want to dwell on this, but we are expanding the story and the lore through comics and art. So we have already told you in our first roadmap release on Medium that the novel cover will be this artistic preview of what's inside. But we'll mint the cover as an NFT, a bit like how Pixel Vault have done it with Comic 1 and Comic 2. They have dropped the cover as an NFT. And Clone and Genesis holders will be able to claim that for free plus gas as a Ethereum Layer 1 NFT. In terms of how you then read the comic, it won't be just owning the token that gives you, say, like a PDF to the full comic like Pixel Vault. But what we'll do is we'll have an on-site reading of that with chapters that you can unlock with rat milk. So again, it will be a case of storing up your milk to be able to pay for each chapter as they unfold. And we also want to include the community in the design and development of this. So we are talking, and we've done this already as well, but we're talking about things like voting mechanics. So you'll be able to choose your favorite characters to be included, and that won't exclude your battle royale weirdos. In fact, you'll be able to put them forwards, but there's going to be a whole sort of voting structure around how we bring everyone's favorites into the graphic novel. So that's kind of on you to decide as a community. They'll be your characters in this story, and how you campaign for that might be interesting to see how that unfolds in the community as well. We are also committing to certain rarity traits within the cover tokens as well, so watch out for that. That could be an interesting little dynamic on the side. And yeah, just to finish off that FAQ, you will be able to read the novel without owning the cover token, but you won't have early access, so it will be gated initially to token holders only. And there will be rat milk discounts if you do have a token. So it'll cost you more in effect if you don't have a token, and you'll be late to the party. So we don't want to completely disbar people who are not token holders with rat milk. But as you see, as we get through the slides, there's going to be a whole benefits table. And if you don't own a token, you're not going to be central to our reward and loyalty program in building out all these benefits in the roadmap. Moving on. Now the game. We have talked about the game, but we've been very light touch on this. And the truth is we are still quite early on our development of this in terms of talking to studios for development. It is very early days. And so we don't have a huge amount of detail behind the rest of this. This is a conceptual plan for how it's going to play out. So do bear with us. This is probably not that early on the roadmap, and we need to scope out how long this is going to take to put into development. So, but we do want to start putting some teasers in terms of how we want this to come to life. And, we've all settled on, again, developing the Battle Royale story here and really giving you a chance to gamify the milk experience. So we're calling it Play to Milk, which may be the first of its type in the NFT space. So it's going to be Battle Royale style tournaments with your characters, either against generic solo characters or multiplayer against other weirdos. You'll be staking milk effectively. When I say staking, I don't mean like staking in terms of contract staking, but like placing a bit like, prize fighting, putting money up with rat milk, and there'll be milk prizes for victory. So if you lose in battle, you'll lose your milk that you've staked. So the idea is that you are earning more milk than you went in with, or you're potentially losing what you went in with. So it adds a little dimension to how you play the game and the competitive nature of it as well. So it just provides that extra utility around milk, but also your weirdos. We want to make it so that clones at the base level can play this game and compete and have reasonable chances of winning. We don't want this to just be a case of Genesis, clean house, because they're the overpowered characters that can beat up the cheap peons or whoever it may be. It's more about how we structure the tournaments and how the payouts work. So you'll have more benefits as a Genesis or a Super Weirdo, but what you won't have is an unfair advantage over clones. We'll make this so that clones can play and it's fun to play. And that's kind of the focus of this. We're calling it 2D because that leans into the style of our art very nicely. We want this to be simple. We do want this to be playable and fun, but conscious of how long these things can take to make. And we're not a AAA game studio. You shouldn't expect us to be, for $60, you can purchase something from a AAA studio that took years to develop and tens or hundreds of millions of dollars to create. And that ain't us. We don't have that amount of capital, or we don't have that amount of time, but we do want to build on the IP and we do want to make some fun things for you to play. And so we've got some ideas as to how that can come to life with some studios that we've been thinking about already. So the aim of this is to get this out within a reasonable time frame with simplicity at the core of it, but giving you an extra chance to win some more milk.
One question I did see, just because it's sort of there, I might as well just answer it, was if a weirdo sold, what happens to the stacked rat milk? Does it disappear? But I think we've said that really it's the owner of the token that is earning the rat milk at that point, and obviously the penalty comes from that being sold. So there's a reason to keep a hold of it, and the owner of the token is ultimately going to be earning the rat milk. So you're not going to be like selling tokens with rat milk included type thing, just to be clear. Right now.
Cool. So without further ado, the grand reveal of the initial roadmap, the animated series. So I think we put that deliberately out there as the first thing to focus on the first roadmap, because we wanted to lead with the grand vision of where we want this to end up one day, notwithstanding that would be the hardest and most difficult and least realistic thing to achieve from the foothills of selling out an NFT PFP generative project, right? We know that. We were very aware of that as we were building out our vision, but we want to build credible steps towards that. And so the whole point of this is that we are running all these other roadmap experiences in parallel to exploring our animated potential. And so we're going to start, excuse me, I'm about to have a major coughing fit. 1 second. And I'm back. Very slick.
I thought we were going to need like some lift music or something, just as a little
a little interlude. Nice supermarket jingle. So we are focused on animated shorts initially, so 2 to 3 minute shorts of specific scenarios or characters, just to really showcase our animation potential. As you know, this is Ghostbrett's background, this is his meat and drink, this is what he does best, and so we've got the potential in house to develop this. We'll need some support, and we've got that lined up. But what we're talking about in the first instance is our first episodes to just get this off the ground and running. Is we'll be choosing the first episode being the backstory or the origin stories of the weirdos and how they came to be, and then following up with one character of our choosing from the core team as the focus for the first character animated short, and then that will set the pattern for how the future origin stories or character stories will be done. And then the community then comes in to vote for those characters with rat milk or the scenarios. So we'll run a series of those over time with a relatively quick cadence. So we want to get a few of these out fairly regularly so that you're continually experiencing new content. The aim of all of that is to then build towards a full pilot episode, which we can then use from a network point of view to then start building this into the final form. But the whole point, again, of this, to reiterate, is that clones are not excluded from being part of this stuff. It is possible to take a clone and put them into an animated short or the series. The Genesis will always have priority here because they're the ones with the richer backstories and the bios and the whole descriptions, and they're one of ones, and they've got all this sort of uniqueness to them, which lends itself really nicely to being explored in this format. So they're more likely to feature, but they're not exclusively featured. That's probably important. So your campaigning might matter in the way that we design the whole voting structures with milk as well. Again, further reason to stack milk and keep earning milk as well. We're thinking through the streaming options of how we do that. There's some pretty cool Web3 solutions out there in terms of gated payments, whether we can, we'll have to have a think about the type of currency and payment that would involve, because at the moment, as you know, rat milk is not an ERC20, and it may be that this is the sort of thing that forces us down the road of creating something that is a genuine token to create the utility add-on to what you've already been working to by that point. We also dropped this bombshell in at the end where we're talking about profit sharing. Now, we have deliberated on this many times in the lead into the mint and in the conversations around the roadmap, because other people have come to, sorry, a little bit of context here. A lot of people have come to us in the community and said, I don't really feel that the benefits of holding a token are tangible when you're talking about an animated series. So in other words, tell us what the return on investment is going to be and why we can get excited for you going down this road. And the problem is, it's from a legal point of view, it's very difficult to make that full commitment, because the securities laws around this stuff that prevents us from giving you sort of full guarantees around profit sharing and profitability and being involved in a very specific structure. Now, I've personally seen other NFT projects do that. I don't want to call out specific projects, and I know others have, but it's risky stuff to commit to certain payments and payouts off the back of your characters or NFTs being included in future revenue stream opportunities. So from a securities and legal point of view, we have been a little bit lighter on this point, but the key here is that it says Team Weirdo to act in good faith. We want to share a proportion of profits that are made from anything on this line of the roadmap with token holders via what's called a community pool. So rather than just say owning the equivalent of Bart Simpson and reaping 50% of the rewards of a future animated series, it would be distributed in a sort of proportionate and measured way, which we'll have to get into the details of as we get there. And we can't really make those cast iron commitments from, like I say, a securities perspective at this point. And I really hope that comes across. But nevertheless, we do want to share in the upside and the benefit very substantially too, I might add, with the community and the holders of all Weirdos tokens, not just the ones that make it into the show. So if you are for example, a floor alpha holder in Battle Royale, you should feel like there is an opportunity for you to be part of this and not just the owner of, for example, Dakarai in the Genesis collection, right? So it's going to have a scaling mechanism to it, but we aren't really at the stage of being able to scope that out in significant detail for a variety of reasons. And then just quickly onto what's next from a short-term wins point of view. So for the community, we've got a variety of smaller things coming very soon in the next few days, even in some cases. We've got social banners for Twitter, for example, using Weirdos. Can't wait to drop that in. The ability to change faction, which has been thrown up hundreds of times in our lifetime in Discord, will be coming very soon. So you'll be able to defect from the Weirdos to the state. There's going to be no one defective from the state to the Weirdos. I can't see that. So faction changes are coming. We'll be dropping more merch concepts into the community as they are designed. And we've also previously talked to you about an AI description tool for Battle Royale Weirdos. That is in development, and we will be able to put that out there fairly soon. We are in quite excited to do that one, and how sort of how milk is incorporated into that as well. So I don't want to say too much, because again, some of this stuff would be nice to just drop as a finished product. Ta-da, here's something new to play with. And to the best of our ability for this smaller stuff, we will try and hold back some key information so that we're just giving you some surprises and moments of fun. Allow list marketplace has been talked about over and over again as well. We are scoping that so that we can use Rat Milk to partner with other projects, whitelists or allow lists, and thinking of the best way of delivering that. And we've got a couple of solutions in mind, using either stuff within the Discord or on websites. So we're going to have a conversation around how we implement that. But some of that will come from the future as well, around the team. So obviously we talked about going to market for a full-time marketing manager. A lot of that will be wrapped up in our bandwidth to focus back on partnerships and collabs, as we were so heavily involved in the premium phase. We are absent of that marketing manager starting that line of inquiry up anyway, starting to line up things like AMAs again with other projects, and some more collaborative opportunities generally to just talk and get in other spaces and that sort of thing. So yeah, we're going to be back out on the front foot and starting to think about how we offer more utility around Rat Milk in terms of this being a valuable community to be part of, in terms of getting other people's whitelists and that sort of thing. And then this is just a really visual state of benefits for clones and Genesis. And then just to put it into stark contrast, there's very few things that you can do if you're not a token holder. And I think that's right. You know, we want to reward people who are still holding and still want to hold and are not looking for the exits. This is why you would stick around. You know, all these things that we've talked about. Again, I'm not going to rattle off the list line by line, because you're going to get this deck and you're going to have a recording of it. But maybe on the recording, just pause at this timestamp, 47 minutes, and then try and read it at your leisure. And the point here, of course, is that to unlock absolutely everything, you need a Genesis. But the vast majority of stuff within the Weirdoverse is also attainable by clones. But there is a subtle difference in a number of areas that's worth pointing out, whether it's special edition merch, whether it's OG Discords, whether it's the chances of being in the graphic novel or the animated series. The Genesis will take priority in a number of spaces, but it's worth holding both in our design of the sort of tiering of weirdos and by their importance. So that's kind of it. I mean, I think I banged on longer than I wanted to. We've got about 10-15 minutes for questions at the end here, but just to really quickly recap the key messages, we're close to launching a Rat Milk loyalty scheme, which will be passive. You'll be able to claim benefits on a weekly basis, and there'll be multipliers for certain collection types and styles, and they'll be stackable. So you won't have to go into the Discord as often as you might currently do to earn milk. And that is, you know, a big benefit in terms of unlocking the stacks of Rat Milk you're going to need for everything coming forwards. We talked about Super Weirdos for the first time, and burning some of the Battle Royale collection to level up and get yourself a Genesis Series 4, effectively, which will be an army general from the Battle Royale lore, and they will be also then used in future roadmap items like the game, and then potentially within animated shorts and that sort of thing. And the animated series, with reference to a community benefit pool, was touched on as well. So the idea that you'll be able to share in the rewards of any upside to the project on this, because they are your tokens. I know we have shared license agreements across them, but they are your tokens, and we want you to benefit from holding those tokens, and that's really important to us. So that's kind of what we want you to take away. Please go back through the recording. But before we wrap up, I think we've got about, like say, 10, maybe 15 minutes of questions from the community. If CryptoJack's been stacking the best ones, I'm very happy to take the floor or leave some of the more technical stuff to Mark and Mr. Xeon or Ghost Breath on the art. But over to you, Jack. What have we got?
I think we've done a pretty good job of answering most of them as we've gone along, but I'm going to read some of those out anyway, just so that we don't leave anybody shortchanged. So please give us a rundown of the Rat Milk accumulation, how it will work for members who have listed, own multiples of Weirdos, and don't have much time to chat or play Discord games. I think we've answered that really as much as we can. Obviously, the outstanding questions there around the specifics about what the multipliers are and how they apply to different sets. We don't have an answer to that right now, but that will be coming, and it's an important part of this, as Nick mentioned, is modeling this all out carefully. We've joked before about rat milk inflation. If we get some of this wrong, it'll be to the detriment of the community. So, like Nick said, we're working through some of that stuff.
What I will say to that, Jack, as well, is we didn't touch on in the slide there. We didn't touch on tokens which have never been listed, which we're going to commit to offering a multiplier on. So if you minted and have never listed, that's a huge benefit that we're gonna reward that. So yeah, I think people have asked, I've been here from the beginning, or I swept the floor at 0.12. So what's in it for me? And the truth is, we're trying to deliver as many mechanisms as possible for those people who've been holding, either from the very beginning or in volume, to be rewarded for doing so. And that's the point of the loyalty scheme. It's not just about loyalty of one design. It's trying to capture all those different definitions of loyalty rather than just one or two.
Yeah. Very good question here. I think maybe like part to be answered by us, maybe part by the tech team. Instead of burning 8 to make a super weirdo, have you thought about not burning and to discharge a glue or something that allows people to team up to make super weirdos, maybe gluing them together for a set period of time? I think, can start by answering some of that. It's worth saying that we have considered kind of both the burning and staking mechanism solution for the generation of super weirdos, and just for simplicity's sake and avoiding additional technical complexities of a kind of a special type of staking contract that maybe Mark would be able to go into more detail about, and kind of the audit around that. We decided that this kind of burning mechanism was probably the most sensible approach moving forward, and kind of nicely permanently caused these deflationary effects on by reducing the supply. But that is something that we kind of can look into in a bit more detail. That kind of idea of collaboratively owning a shared window, a shared super window, is an interesting one, but I think
that's quite complex because then we move into sort of fractional ownership almost, and that's quite difficult. Yeah. And there's nothing stopping you, obviously, having that agreement with your mates personally, but I think it'd be very difficult for us to deliver that technically and manage it and make sure it's been all done in good faith. And as Jack said, it's about trying to get something that we can deliver and get the end result quicker, rather than kind of really pushing to sort of create extremely difficult technical challenges that are going to prevent us from doing it in a reasonable time period as well. So I think there's good stuff in there, but I think it's just like burning is slightly easier than staking. It's also more secure as well. So we have less issues around that. We've all seen lots of projects fall foul of staking becoming a bit of a security issue. And then also the fractional ownership stuff is quite complicated, and I think that would probably be better handled with you and your friends, kind of thing.
Cool. Got another one coming here. I know it's kind of out of your hands, but how's the OpenSea verification looking in Series 1, 2, 3, and the Battle Royale clones? I don't know. I know, Nick, you kind of
they changed this yesterday.
They did.
So we're going to struggle for Series 1, 2, and 3 to have the badge on the collections due to the lack of volume. However, because the deployer has his ownership of a collection with over 100 ETH in trading volume, we should be able to get some sort of verified status on OpenSea. And I think the Battle Royale collection will have 2 double ticks, whereas Series 1 to 3 will have 1. It's still typically, OpenSea's, I'm going to call it, corrupt system, where they've increased some transparency. For reference, I submitted a couple of collections yesterday that fit the criteria and nothing's happened. However, I know of people who have submitted and it's already approved. It's like typical OpenSea, they're just picking who they want to approve and maybe increasing transparency. So we will try and get it over the line, but who the fuck knows when they decide to do it. I don't know. We just better catch someone on at the right time and the right person.
It sounds like they're moving to a position where they want to be able to commit to turn around in 7 days on that, but they're obviously not there yet.
Yeah, it would be really good, and I think it's nice just to inspire a bit of confidence in the project. But my thoughts on this are that it's needed during mint when people are scammed most, really. But yeah, we will try and get it because it will look nice for the collection to have the blue tick there.
Someone mentioned about. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just going to jump into a question that I spotted for myself, I guess. But someone mentioned
make your own utility.
Yeah, well, I'll just get the ones that relate to me out of the way, I suppose. Will we be able to share milk between wallets? I've got several wallets with Weirdos, and I think that's something that we are looking at. So I think we'll need to add. There's a few things we need to do. We need to add the ability to have more than one wallet associated with you as a person. So there's a few kind of technical things we have to go through there, because we realize that some people will have moved things into their ledger, or perhaps they have distributed them across different wallets. And so we probably will need to support multiple wallets. And then, so rather than, I don't think we're going to introduce anything where you can move the milk, well, maybe, I suppose, between the wallets you own, but it'll sort of become more, I guess, uncoupled from your wallet, and instead more related to you as a sort of person, as an individual, right? So that just allows us to have multiple wallets associated with one person, and then the person is earning the milk. So there's a few subtleties there, but certainly, our desire is to have it so that you can earn milk for for example, in the Discord, using the wallet that maybe doesn't have Weirdos in, which is how it can work right now. But you add a wallet to your account, which perhaps is your ledger, for example, that does actually have the tokens in it. So we've got to think about that, and we obviously need to make sure that you actually own the wallet. So there's some things we have to try and figure out to make that easy, and make sure that it's nice and secure. So, well, the short answer is kind of yes, but not quite in the way you describe, I guess.
Cool, Nick.
Cool. I think we can go for maybe 5 more minutes, would you say? I think it'd be good to wrap up within an hour-ish. I mean, I'm not going to pull the cord in 2 minutes, but if we could maybe go through a couple more, and then we'll follow up in the AMA session next week in Discord as well.
Okay, that's a kind of tough one. I know you guys presented a more complete roadmap today, but I really wanted to check in on a time schedule, days, months, kind of on the roadmap items.
Okay. So first things first, there are good reasons why we don't put dates on things, because most projects put dates out and completely blow by them and create a huge amount of unrest around missing dates and deadlines. And it doesn't work, basically, because these things get scoped and then things happen and then they get pushed back, and then people feel rugged, or any number of upsetting things because they're setting their dates around certain points of exit liquidity or whatever it might be, and we're just not interested in setting unrealistic timelines. But I do get the concept being, give us an idea of whether it's days, months, weeks, or years. So if we go back a couple of slides just to illustrate this, if we're talking, say, briefly around next steps, which was here, some of this stuff is days, some of this stuff is soon, like very, very soon. And, like say AI clones is not days, it's weeks, but it's not months. Allow list marketplace. To be honest, we do need to scope that, and we can't answer whether that's a few days or a few weeks at this point.
And more holistically, it's really just a case of there are some of these things have technical constraints, and what we want to do is uncover what those are before we start getting too fixated on dates. The ideal scenario is, as we de-risk each of these and sort of have some of the technical constraints under control, and we've got things almost close, that the dates will become available. But it's just really difficult at the moment because there's quite a lot here, as you've seen. There's lots of avenues that all need to come together for this stuff to happen, and we want to deliver it as soon as we can. But you know, we've got to get more comfortable first, because otherwise we're just going to give you a date, and then you guys are all going to be whining about the fact that we missed it, and that's worse than us not giving you a date and then, you know, de-risking it and telling you an actual date that we definitely know we can meet. So that's
we delayed the reveal by 24 hours, and I've never seen FUD like it in all my life. So if we were to give a date on some of this and we're like, actually, we need to push this a few weeks or whatever, it's just setting Discord up and the community up for having a bad vibe. Because let's be real, it just takes one person to be having a bad day and see something delayed that they were perhaps looking forward to and come in and just completely change the vibe in Discord for a whole bunch of people. So by not giving dates, we're just not setting ourselves up to fail, because realistically, we will encounter challenges on this. So, for example, we're keen to have the contracts audited by auditing firms such as like Hacken or something. What if they come back to us and say we can't have these audited within the next sort of 12 weeks, right? And we've said to you we're going to have this done in 3 weeks. So it just means that we have some flexibility on our end to make sure that we're only pushing it out to you when it really is ready, and we're fully confident on the time frame. It's frustrating to just say soon to everything, and I think one thing that Bored Ape, the Yacht Club, do really well is they don't give dates. Really, they're just like, hey, this is a week away, and it's probably
Let's do it.
Yeah, they probably get to a place where they're like, we're going to work on this, we're going to keep quiet, and then we're just going to drop it. You know, we're not big enough to be able to do that. We'll have to give people notice, and it avoids scams, obviously. But we're not going to be giving you guys like a date and say, hey, this is going to come on June 12th, because it just wouldn't make sense.
Yeah, and to back up Mark there, if we did find out that, say, something came down the pipe that was going to push us into a 12-week delay on something, we'd tell you. At that point, you know, as we discover the clarity on the timelines, we'll share what we can. We're not just going to be here saying soon, but at the same time, some of this stuff needs more detailed scoping, and we're not going to start trying to land the plane on something that feels like it placates a community question. We want to get this right. We want to do it right first time as well.
You should expect faction changes next week, so there's one that you can have. You know, and so some of these will become more obvious, more, you know, as we get through. Some of this stuff is not a million miles away, as Nick said before, but some of it is technically challenging that we have to get through. Like milk yielding is another one that just, you know, there's part of it which is we need to use a bunch of APIs to make sure people aren't listing tokens, and we need to monitor token usage, and multiple wallets have to come into play. And then we've also got to work out the reward schedules and how that's going to work, and where we're going to store the milk. And so, you know, all of these things are in our minds, and we're trying to, you know, just whittle it down to a set of things that we know, and then we can give dates. Faction, like being able to change your faction, you know, that will happen next week, right? So there's one out of them that I can be sure of, because I'll be doing the work around that.
I think that's the key principle, isn't it? Like, once we've got confidence in the timeframes, we'll make sure that we share those. And sometimes that might be telling you it's weeks away. Sometimes it might be it's coming next week. But you know, as we go forward, that we'll make sure that we're super clear on that.
Yeah, and it's a challenge with roadmaps. And I personally, I fucking hate roadmaps, because like you know, I've spent 20 years in creating products and companies, and in those 20 years, I've never seen anybody ever deliver a roadmap on time, because, and so, you know, within the businesses I've created, I just have a no roadmaps policy, because it's simply setting expectations, and it's distracting, because we also need to be reactive to the market here. Like, there's no point in us setting out a bunch of things that then we can't deliver on because the market's changed, or it wouldn't be sensible to deliver on. And some of these items may need to be done sooner or later, depending on where the market is as well. So there's just a bunch of like little factors that need to go into this. And timescales will become available. There's no doubt about it. It's just that, you know, the first part we've got to figure out is, you know, the ones that require technical constraints. Things like merch is another one where, you know, it's not all on us. We need suppliers in that. And so we've got some challenges to work out there with just, when can a supplier do that? We will give more dates as we get closer, but we don't want to set false expectations because we know that, to be honest, that will piss you off more than us not giving you a date, based on our experience.
We will also be doing things that are not on this slide deck. I'm not going to say what they are.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get into too much excitement levels around this stuff, but you shouldn't expect there to just be one version of the future and to never be agile enough to react to stuff as it emerges. We want to, partly why we never enjoyed roadmaps when we were talking, as our philosophy was being expressed in the premium phase. Like we like the idea of being agile enough to say, hey, what do collectors like this year? And when we get into 2023, do you still like what we're talking about, or do we need to add, pivot, amend? And we'll be honest with that as it comes through as well.
Did mention in the Discord just about, I suppose just, without a date, that's maybe fine, but obviously if we get to September and we still don't have a date, blah blah blah. And so I think the one thing I would say is that some of this stuff we can be building in public, right? So for example, I have a bunch of work to do in terms of the rat milk accumulation or yielding, whatever we've called it. I can't remember. And there's some parameters there for us to think about. There's some, how is that actually going to work? And we can be sort of sharing some of that as we go along so that you can kind of be on the journey with us as we build some of this stuff. So we're not just going to work on it, be completely quiet, and then one day you wake up and it's there. I'm hoping that we can sort of show you progress. Some of it may well be a bit techy, which might, interest some of you, and others you might just get comfort from knowing that there's something being released. So I definitely hope that we can be, taking you on the journey a little bit and building in public so that you get a sense of that. Just like Matt's obviously shared those merch mock-ups, they're not set in stone, they're not exactly as they're going to be, but it's evidence of us building in public and showing you that progress is being made, and those are the types of things that are going to be useful for us to speak to suppliers and get their input on. So very much a case of we want to take you guys on the journey and have you with us as we're building this stuff, and then as we are doing that, you'll also probably feel yourself that we're getting closer to the end, and then dates will also be revealed at the same point. So just a kind of general point on that.
Happy Aussie Vegan in the lodge is saying, you need to understand people who pay 0.09 will want to have reasons to hold and not give up. The reasons to hold is the roadmap, Aussie Vegan. We're doing a lot of different things here. You might not like them all, and this might not be the project for you if you don't like the things on the roadmap, to be perfectly honest with you. We're talking about releasing merch, we're talking about releasing a game, we're talking about an animated series, we're talking about creating utility for things that factor around those things. So it's really a question back to you. What do you like? What do you want? Because these are the things we want. This whole exercise is around checking in with the community as to what they like in terms of the direction of the project. We do want to build with you. We don't want to build things that you don't want, but we do want to achieve a broad consensus on that. And if ultimately the majority of the community give us the green light to go and build this stuff now, we're going to go and do it. And the utility will be focused around experiencing that to its fullest. And if that doesn't work for you, then I can't necessarily give you the.
Yeah, I think he's.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think he's. I don't think he's trying to be difficult as such, but it's more. I think we're just. Our simple answer is we can't give dates for things that we don't feel confident doing, and that is less professional and more not good on us. So we prefer to do it once we know what's happening and have more assurity so that you're not disappointed by something that we can't deliver. And I think as long as you can see us making progress towards it, and I think this today's session is very much about that. This is about us saying, the last time we did this, it felt like people were, we didn't have as much detail as this, and people were disappointed because they maybe didn't understand as much. This is another glimpse into even more detail and even more evidence that we are working on this. We are trying to move as fast as we can. But things do take time, and we need the community to be backing us as well here. It's slightly distracting for us to be constantly trying to defend ourselves in the community. It takes time away from building out the roadmap ultimately, which is where we want to focus on. So I think the community's got to have our back here and make sure that they can see the potential in this. And then the dates and other things will follow as soon as we can give them.
Yeah, I think it's also important to note that like there's that level of consensus. Like when if you put something out and people are like, I'm not happy with this, then it muddies potential timelines as well. So I think once everybody's like, rad, this is awesome, we're like completely on board, we're excited for this going forward, and time goes by, it becomes a lot clearer. So yeah. I might as well actually quickly answer a question Happy Aussie Vegan had in the AMA questions. Number 4, the art and is amazing and the lore is cool. Where does Battle Royale fit into this? So to quickly, I won't take more than a minute. Battle Royale is very much part of, it's like the underpinning of the lore. The Weirdos have always been gearing up to this, and this has always been something that we've hinted towards through series 1 and 2 and 3, and hinted more heavily as each series developed. And that kind of setting out the clones to go and kind of destroy the state was the conceptual reasoning behind the Battle Royale initially, and why that was kind of always the direction that things were going to take. I wasn't, as a person, the artist, I wasn't really excited by making a collection that's one silhouette and it feels like you just stuck various things on top of that. So creating a real reason for those clones to exist and how that ties carefully into the lore was really important for me, and making those tokens as individual as possible to reflect that story, so that these things being built, long before they were built, they were designed from a lore perspective to incorporate that, build the story into a point where 6 months down the line people can be like, oh wow, these clones have been worked into this animation, and it's not a haphazard thing. It was thought about a year ago, and that's really what the Battle Royale is kind of about, and also the separation of the clones and the other Weirdos. So yeah, always been a very big part of what's going on. Yeah, I think that's the end of that.
I think that should probably bring us to a natural pause in questions. We want to take this on again next week, and I think I want this to be digestible for people on a recording. It's just coming up to an hour and a quarter now, so it'd be good to be in a place where this is nice and easy to consume. So we're going to call it there, and I think the next step is to, like I say, get into Discord, say thank you, stick with us as we start giving you more project announcements and more timelines and more delivery, and yeah, just let's get excited together and let's start building this. So yeah, thanks to everyone in the team for their time today. It's been fun, and I can't wait to come back to you again with more news, more announcements, and yeah, more updates on what the team's up to. So thank you very much.
Thanks everybody. Have a good day.
Thanks everyone. Cheers.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers. Bye.